What's up, everybody, and welcome back to All the Things Sort of Truth, the marinated in alcohol, chapter-by-chapter reread of the Sort of Truth series by Terry Goodkind. I'm Nate.
And I'm Jade.
And this week, we're going to be getting into Chapter 17 of Wizards First Rule.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Sorry, I got overexcited.
So this week, we were hoping to come to you guys with some news about the store being opened because we really want to possibly purchase some stuff.
Buy a sword.
But so far, no news. Hopefully no news is good news, but last news that we got was that it was going to be open last month. So hopefully we will get something soon.
I saw on Facebook that Rob was tagged, so hopefully he'll be dropping a little bit of information soon, but as soon as we know, we'll let all you know.
It's not just us looking. There's obviously quite a few people who are chomping at the bit to get some stuff. So hopefully that will get resolved soon.
I'd really like to see this thing open because in a couple of weeks, it's going to be Christmas.
Yeah.
And how cool would it be to be able to get some gifts there? Just saying.
Yeah. Even if it doesn't come out before Christmas, okay? Money at the store after Christmas? I could see that.
Solid point. There's always spending money after Christmas. Well, hopefully. Somebody doesn't know what to get you. They're like, here's some money. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
But I think that's all we got. So I think we can move right along.
All right. Well, in this chapter, not too much actually happens, but it is a big info dump. Adie is giving Richard and Kahlan some information on how they're going to get through the boundary safely. And she's kind of giving them some of her experience to take with them. So they're not completely fucking blind doing this super terrifying thing. But that's all it really is. They're just getting ready to go. Kind of a last warning.
Yeah, so let's get to it.
So the chapter begins with Richard hearing the sounds of animals outside, and they kind of remind him of home. Richard's kind of getting a little sentimental, I think, about the upcoming trip. He's thinking about how tonight's going to be the last night in his homeland. He's leaving, and how he's going to the Midlands like his dad always did. There's kind of a parallel. Doing what Dad did, man. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and how he's kind of symbolically bringing the book back across the boundary after his dad brought it over in the first place.
Right. Maybe bringing it back to where it belongs.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Richard asks about the pass, and Adie tells him that he's already in it. The mouth of it, anyways. He then asks her what they have to know to get through it.
Yeah, what? We're already in it? Thanks for the fucking heads up.
Yeah.
I think it should be common knowledge of all the parties involved when you're staying at a house like this, that she's like, hey, don't take a piss out back, because 10 feet behind the house is the underworld.
If you're going to, go directly out the back door. Don't go too far to the left or the right.
Right. Like, give a dude a warning. She didn't say nothing. Like, we're there. So that means that the boundary has to be relatively close to her house. If they're in the mouth of the pass, it's the only hole going through the boundary. So it's got to be pretty close quarters, I'm assuming. Worth a mention, maybe.
Maybe. Adie tells Richard that the pass is a void in the underworld, but it's still the land of the dead, and the two of them are still fucking living. The beasts hunt living things that are big enough to interest them, and so Richard naturally asks about these beasts.
Fair question, I think.
Yeah.
What beasts are you referring to again? So, Adie points to the bones that are all around her hut. She says, your friends were touched by the things of the underworld. These bones confuse their powers. That's why I said that they were being helped as soon as they came in. The bones cause the magic poison to leave their bodies. They lift the death sleep and keep the evil away so that the beasts can't find her. They feel the evil of the bones, and it makes them think that she's one of them. So It's got to be like a camouflage scent mask.
Yeah.
For a pack of dogs. One of them just doesn't smell right, so she uses the bones to kind of cover that. And they just think she's one of the pack, so they kind of leave her be. That's not to say that they can't, like, attack her, though, right?
No, right. She's just, like, hiding in a bush.
That kind of seems like it might be a little bit of a shoddy defense.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than nothing. I mean, so far it's working great, apparently. She's got a whole ass house.
A whole ass house. Well, she does live really, really close to the mouth of this boundary, so it must work well enough to where she can comfortably live that close to the boundary.
Right.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? She probably knows better than me, so I'm just going to assume Adie knows what the fuck she's doing.
She is a bone lady, dude.
That's true.
Richard asked if they could take some, and that would protect them. Like, if they could take some of the bones with them, and they would be protected. And Addie's like, yeah, very good. You're following along very well so far.
Well, it's kind of an obvious thing. She's like, see the bones all over the house? See how we're safe in the house? And Richard's like, oh, so we take the bones and we make a bone t-shirt?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Bone hat?
He puts two and two together fairly easy, but I think she did most of the heavy lifting for him.
Yeah. She tells him that's what you're going to do, but there's more. Shut up and listen carefully.
Yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than all that.
Yeah.
So, chill.
You're not taking your horses. The trail's too small. Get ready to walk.
Which didn't seem like a big deal to me until she told them the next point. It's going to take a day and a night and then most of the next day. It's going to take a couple days.
And you can't wander off the path or sleep.
No. And so the not being able to take your horse wasn't really a big deal until it was like, this is not just you need to walk 200 feet that way kind of a pass. This is like a mountain canyon that you have to maneuver through with dead things on either end.
Right. And I mean, at first I thought she said a day and a night. And I was like, okay, that might be a little hard, but like you could do that. It's doable. But a day, a night, and most of another day, by the end of that second day, you're like dead.
I mean, we've been to Disney World, so we've walked for an entire day, and by the end of that day, you're pretty well spent.
That's why I was like, you need good shoes, and I don't think they have good shoes either.
Richard might. He might have some good boots.
But, like, good boots compared to, like, that time period.
Yeah, I mean, you're still going to be sore at the end of the day, no matter what.
But I also thought it was silly because Richard's like, why can't we sleep, man? And I was like, dude, okay. You've been outside at night, near the boundary-ish, near it. Like, what the fuck are you even asking that question for? You're gonna be inside the boundary. Of course you're not gonna go to sleep. That's stupid.
Right. I'd have a hard enough time just sleeping outside in this general area without it even being pretty much like inside the boundary. So he's like, well, why wouldn't we fall asleep when we're inches from the underworld? Yeah, pretty self-explanatory there, Richard.
Yeah.
No, you don't want to fucking fall asleep. You want to get well the fuck away from this, then think about it.
Didn't you just get chased by heart hounds? Like, well away from the boundary?
Right.
They come out at night. If you're sleeping at night in, like, the little crack in the middle of the boundary, don't you think that those heart hounds are going to be like, hey, it's a midnight snack?
Oh, absolutely. And one point here in just a little bit, Adie explains that there's a point in this pass that's just you can walk in a straight line exactly behind the person in front of you and no variance to the left or the right, because if you do, you'll be gone. So this is not a wide path either.
Yeah.
This is single file shit.
You're not pitching a tent.
For a day, a night, and most of the next day. That would be fucking exhausting.
Yeah.
Even without all the supernatural repercussions of that.
Yeah, just doing it.
Yeah.
Is hard enough. And Adie is like, hey, there's also other shit in the pass, surprise, that will get you if you stop long enough. Adie goes into the pass pretty often. And if you're careful, it's pretty safe. She's not really usually too worried about it. But if you're not careful, shit goes down.
And this is when Adie tells them the story of how she lost her foot.
Aww.
So, one day, Adie was in the pass, and she became overconfident. She got tired. She knew where the danger was. She knew she was going to be safe enough. So she stopped against a tree, and she took a small nap. Only a few minutes. Now, My question was, is this an actual few minutes, or is this maybe like a half hour, but I swear I wasn't actually sleeping?
Yeah, probably closer to that.
I take those not naps all the time. But while she was asleep, something called a gripper latched itself to her ankle. Now, a gripper is a disgusting little creature that I absolutely hate the description of. At first, it kind of made me think of an armadillo.
Me too.
But then it's more like a potato bug. But then it's more like a potato bug with a bunch of little feet and a big leech mouth. And suddenly, you're a world away from a cute little armadillo. But I also kind of figure it's bigger than that, too. Because this gripper put all of her foot in its mouth.
I don't know if it had her whole foot in its mouth. I kind of imagined that it was wrapped around her foot and ankle with its little claw feet embedded into the flesh, tightening.
Oh.
And then it was sucking on her ankle. Because it says it fixes its mouth on you and starts sucking the blood from you while it tightens its claws.
I apologize.
And this is when Kahlan puts a hand on Adie's shoulder. Some moral support. Because Adie tells them that she has her axe with her. And at first she tried to kill the gripper because she was like, shit. I'm fucked if I don't get this thing off of me. That was so dumb. How dare I fall asleep and get attacked by the slowest thing in the fucking boundary.
Right. She said it's one of the slowest creatures in the past, but it's quicker than a sleeping fool.
Right. But the thing's armor is harder than the axe, so she can't get through it.
I think she bought that Harbor Freight axe. It's good for camping, but...
That's about it?
Yeah.
And she looks at Richard, and she says, I could only do one thing. The gripper was scraping bone at this point. And she could not take the pain any longer, so she tied the strip of cloth around her thigh and used the axe to chop off her foot and ankle. I don't think it had her whole foot in its mouth. I think she had to cut off the ankle and the foot to get the thing off of her. Like, she had to get rid of all of it.
Everything below that was pretty much hamburger meat anyway.
Yeah.
For a lack of a better analogy. Yeah, all joking aside, this is torture. It's hard to imagine something just chewing on your bones. It's hard because your nerves won't even let you feel that much pain, I don't think. I feel like I would black out before Adie made the decision to, like, cut her own foot off. You know? It's a lot.
Yeah.
Look, I even had a joke lined up about being the short version of 127 Hours. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the movie. But, just goddamn.
It also kind of reminds me of Saw, but it's a little better because she didn't have to, like, saw through it, I guess.
I mean, if you had to do it, wouldn't you rather it be a chop motion than a saw motion?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, get it done quick. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna regret it the second you do it, but it'll only take a second.
Will it, though? I think I would fuck it up.
I think that in this instance, you would swing harder than you've ever swung in your entire life because you wouldn't want to fuck it up. Like, you know you're about to cause some damage, but as long as you can cause the damage in one fell swoop, it's way better than to have to lift the axe up and do it again.
I can aim with a gun, okay?
You can. You are a fucking deadeye with a 38. I will attest to that.
But my history with sharp things is not quite as good. And as such, my aim with sharp things is not quite as good. And I feel like, especially doing a chopping motion, I'm going to get way off. Like, oh my gosh, do you remember in Titanic?
Yeah, when she swings at the pipe.
You know how he watches her do it like 3 times beforehand and she fucking sucks? And he's like, oh god.
It's like, well, here we go.
Yeah, that's about how it'd be.
You would have to get up in like a
like
cross-legged...
stump.
Puts it on a stump, right? In almost like a cross-legged position so you can come straight down on the ankle. And yeah, no, you would have to get it in line so you could come straight down so you wouldn't be guessing with something like that.
See, I just see myself as, instead of doing straight down like that, I would go in at like a 45 and just not be great.
The honest